Okay. I don't know what that means. But let's see if we're able to go. Oh, there we go. All right. I think we really are live. Possibly, hopefully. Okay. I think we're really here. I think we're really here. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Oh man, this has been a crazy week. And then today is our final 999 portal. So the energy is huge and heavy. Let me know as you come in if you can hear me, if everything sounds good, you can see me, things are working. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Okay. So, I know I didn't give anybody any warning or any notice again, because I forgot again. But it's because I was so happy that I was even able to get on here. So, let's see. All right. So, it seems like you may or may not be able to hear me. I'm not sure. So let's see. Um. Okay. So because we're just getting started, I think if you can't hear me, I'm going to. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I think something might be messing up, but I'm not sure because it says you can hear me on this side, but on this side it doesn't seem like it's working. Oh, hi, Tarot Gothis. Thank you. Okay, good. I'm glad you could hear me. I was very confused. But I'm used to the technical issues and not knowing what's going on, so that's fine. But thank you, Tarot Gothis. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Um oh, and happy 999 portal. So, as people are coming in, if you could just make sure to hit that like button, and I'll just start, I don't know, talking about something. So, um, this live is going to be a little bit different because I had an extremely hard week last week, just like in every way. Like, there was a lot of big energy that was moving in, probably for this last 999 portal. And as we shift out of September into October, um, and that was just kind of playing out. But then also, just even in my everyday life and aspects of my everyday life was harder this week. But I think again, it was very much like, okay, things needed to come to an end because we're coming to the end of all this nine energy, and it's been a lot. But also, these last few days are really a really good time to be able to like fully end things. So, fully get to a project to an end, or get a conversation to an end, or something like that. Um, so this is gonna be like a combo live. It also kind of seemed like a lot of the energy that was coming in that needed to be discussed is very much both like general and hitting hip hop very much. So it's kind of a mix, a blend. And so we'll end up kind of talking about both, just how these vibrations are kind of hitting in general, but then also how it's hitting hip hop specifically. But still feel free to ask questions in the chat, or if you have some specific numbers that you've been seeing, I'm sure they probably relate to what we'll be talking about because there's been so much big energy moving in. So we'll start with that today is our last 999 portal. And this 9 is in particular 27. So what's really happening? So it's a 999 portal where the month, the day, and the year are all resonating at 9. That is really pulling in that 9 energy. But then also, when we add these up, this is 27. And then today is the 27th. So this is like extra 9 energy. So we have the 9 for the month, and then we have the 27 for the day, and the 9 for the year. And so it's this month and year that are kind of working together to create this like portal and bringing forth this 27. So what makes this 999 portal a little bit different is that we already had just 9, where it was just like an ending or shifting energy. Oh, hi, Nikki. Thank you for being here. Welcome. I'm just talking about this 999 portal that we're having today. I'm so glad to see you. Thanks for being here. So the first 999 portal we had was on the 9th. And so that was just the straight up 9 energy, just hitting us, knocking us hard. And then we had the 18th. And this was really about karmic energy, which is that 8, pulling in new energy that was getting to some kind of ending or a shift. But then today, we now are starting here with 7. So this 9 is giving us like the prompting that we can start thinking about taking action with this 9 energy. So I know I've been saying all month, and I've been struggling all month to like be observant and not let myself rush into things or take too much action, that it really was allowing the energy to come in and end things and make space and shift things to make space. So then we could have the new come in, and our actions could really be based off of what that new energy is or what we were shifting into. But today we feel this action energy starting to rev up, and it's really taking action towards ending. So the big ending today, and really at the end of this month, is ending dualism. So we've come through these portals, and the more we've come through, we've seen more and more of this polarization. So the polarization has been there. We've seen a lot of it. But it became more and more clear to more and more people as we going through these portals. And so now we're able to begin to take action on recognizing that that polarization needs to end in some way. and it needs to end in a way that there's something new created. So we no longer can just have the ending. We have to have a shifting. Because these nine energies this year in particular, it's really feeling like shifting, not ending. So it is like taking all of this energy that's built up and shifting it into a new space. It's not just ending something. And we already know that whenever like something goes away or something ends, then something can fill that space. And we have to be really intentional about what we allow to fill that space. That's kind of where we're at right now. But it's even more so this year because it's a shifting, not a full ending. So instead of it being an ending, making space to draw in the new, we're actually taking what has already been built and we're putting it into like a new container. We're using that energy in a new way. We're not ending things. And so today is really starting to give us some of the prompting to be able to start taking action in this shift. Yes. Oh, that's great, Nikki. Yeah. Like we've been feeling it, but this week also, we've been starting to see some of that 10 energy from October kind of seep in. Because a new energy just doesn't usually come in and hit us, even though that's what it felt like at the beginning of September. You start to see the signs of that energy coming in. Usually, it could be up to 2 weeks, but usually a couple days, a week before. So we've probably seen some of these signs of this October energy like coming in. And then now that is like beginning the shift. Because if you think about a shift and that doesn't have a distinct end, it really is like going from a lot of nine energy and then shifting into this 10 energy. And October is not just any 10. Um, okay, Nikki, I hope not. But if you do, you could just let me know and I can go back. But this 10 energy for October is very interesting in that it is a 19. And I am putting together the October videos. So hopefully you'll get those early next week before October starts so that you can start working with this energy. But because October is not just a 10 or just a 1, it's a 19. It's all of this 9 energy from September and really from the whole year is getting dumped into October. And then that is being used, it's being shifted into this new. And this new energy is not coming alone, it's also coming with this universal God energy. So it's very powerful. There's very powerful new things that we are beginning to shift into. The other thing to be aware is that this year of 2025 as a 9 is giving us preparation and examples of how we are going to shift into the next year. And especially right now from September to October, because 2025 adds up to a 9, but then 2026 is a 10. So we have a similar shift happening from 2025 into 2026. And so right now we can really pay attention to this shift in from September into October, and that'll help us give some prep for shifting from 2025 to 2026. So big day. Whew, I was looking forward to today though, because it's been such a hard week and like a hard month energetically, because we've had so much energy built up, and it's just been like coming out in spurts all over the place. And so I don't know about you, but it's been kind of hard for me to handle. It's been a lot. So this last week in particular, exhausted. I've been so exhausted. Had to take so many naps to process this energy and work with this energy. But this is the last one. And so then when we get to 2026, we will actually have 2 months that are similar to September this year, because we'll have January. And as we talk about like getting ready for 2026, we'll talk about this more. But we'll have January that'll have the 111 portals. And then we'll also have October, which will have the 10 10 10, that also is 111 portals. So we'll kind of see this same kind of buildup of energy twice coming up in 2026. Yeah, me too, Tarot Gothis. Very much so. Ready for September to be over. It has been so crazy. It's been crazy energy and really hard to work with. Especially in being somebody that I'm definitely a Capricorn sun. So the way my mind works is very Capricorn. And so when I'm overwhelmed with energy, I tend to just put my head down and like do a whole bunch of work and get caught up in work and become a workaholic. But this energy was not good for it. It certainly wasn't good for starting anything new. So yes, I'm ready for the 9 energy to shift its way out and end as well. But we'll still have the 9 energy of this year until the end of the year. And really for some of us, like myself, who have birthdays at the end of the year, so I have a December birthday, it's actually December is when I'm shifting into my own personal 2025 energy. But I'll be operating in that energy while in 2026 energy. So really what we're supposed to use is supposed to grab that energy from the previous year and use it within the year that we're in, like physically. Oh, hi, Annie. Thank you for being here. You had some really good questions this week. So, the other thing I wanted to make sure that we talked about um, was just reminding you and myself. I'm so glad you finally caught alive. I finally came on at a time that worked for you. I know I've been coming on at some crazy times sometimes. So this week we were looking for and seeing how we could experience this vibration of 437. So this is the number that came up on our random number wheel. Um, and yeah, that's what I was looking at, Annie. You have had crazy messages coming from the universe. And we'll see. I'm sure some of those are also coming out in the general vibration. So we'll end up talking about it too. Oh my gosh, it's so late. It's so late. Um, so 437. And so we just talked about where the 7 is part of our 999 portal today, but this is action energy. But it's action in flow. And we saw some of that. And it was interesting for me to sit back and observe while I was trying to observe because that's hard. Um, but it was interesting to see what these different flows were for different people because vibration is all neutral. And so people can be experiencing this vibrational flow very differently. And if, as long as they're in some kind of vibrational flow, then they can take action there. So it's interesting to be able to see how that action is differed based on your perspective and how you're taking on this vibrational flow. Okay, I'm glad it's not that late. I always think of you and like Slay Queen, and uh there's others too that the time difference is just so big. So action and flow, and then we also growth or growing in some way. And I think the one that kind of probably came out the most was this stability or foundations, where it was like some of the foundations of things were being tested, like how we are defining things. And that's probably, yeah, go ahead and put those numbers in the chat. I don't mind shifting and talking about exactly what you're seeing. Because like I said, I'm sure it relates. Um, and then I think that stability really is coming up in the testing of foundations, because this is adding up to 14. So we see it here again. But that stability and that shift and testing of foundations is leading to some big change. And I think these are the changes that are required for the shifting that we're seeing and that we're required to go through. Like, we don't have a choice. We can dig our heels in all we want to, which I tend to do sometimes. Hopefully, not as much as in my younger years. Um, but you're going to have to shift. And speaking of that, okay, so while Annie is putting her numbers in the chat, some of the messaging that's coming through um yesterday, last night, when I was like oversleeping, like sleeping like crazy, because this energy was just so much. And even this morning was really about this shifting. Um, so we're gonna talk about this shift some more, but we're gonna talk about it as how energy builds up and moves. It moves and builds up as a spiral. So that's what we're gonna be talking about. Yeah. Yeah. So, um, yes, I did erase that. It's because I wanted to draw this spiral again. Um, so the way that vibration moves, um, so we usually think about things moving like either in a linear fashion, so like in a straight line, or like a wave, um, or you could have lots of different movement patterns. Vibration moves as a spiral. Um, and it creates as a spiral, like as a building up and of, because energy is vibration and energy cannot be destroyed or created. It both, the spiral is used to both build up the energy to create, but also to reduce the energy or send it somewhere else to be able to like destroy or end. And so then that's what we're experiencing in this shift. But when we're in this shifting, we're seeing the energy going, building up through the spiral, but at the same time that it's going down through the spiral. So it's going down through the spiral as we're ending things, so that 9 energy, and it's then spiraling up into whatever this new energy is or this new space. Okay, let's see. Let me make sure I can fully see because I got bad eyeballs. Your chat. Okay, so let's see. Mm-hmm. 72. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes. But there's even more there, Annie. We love that. Okay, so 72. So we were just talking about how today is the last 999 portal and it's the 27th. So 72 is the mirror image of 27, um, which is this 999 portal for today. It also is where 72 is the numerical vibration of hip hop, of the actual phrase, the name hip hop. And I was looking at this actually, I think it was last night. Probably was half sleep. um, because I did think it was interesting that this last 999 portal was on this day that is this mirror image of the vibration of the name hip hop. And so when you have a mirror image, the point of it, so both of these add up to 9 that we know. And so 9 is the ending. That's the mirror there in the middle. Um, but the steps are reversed. So I don't know if anybody remembers, but I talk about quite often, like if you have your life path number and somebody has the mirror image of it, that those are people that you might have a really hard time working with, or being connected to. You have to be extremely intentional with them, and they have to be very intentional with you, because the steps being opposite means that it's harder to get the energy to move together, because it's which step is first and which is the opposite. Yes, exactly, Annie. So when you have this mirror image of people, this is like any relationship, where in any relationship they are reflecting parts of yourself back to you. And a lot of the times those are lessons that we need to learn. And so we can get one piece of information from your 72, but the lesson that needs to be learned is how to also flip flop these steps, um, by looking at the reflection of it. And it's no coincidence that today is that reflection or that mirror image of this number. Um, and so, whereas 72 has its first step, which is not an easy step, like none of these really are easy steps, but the 2 is actually really hard, because the 2 is all about it's seeing dualism. So it's seeing that there are these extremes that exist in our world, that exist in our space, but figuring out how to end it. And you can't just end dualism by getting rid of one extreme, because what happens is if you try and get rid of one extreme, it's like a like one of those lizards or snakes where you could cut the tail off. but then it just grows a new tail. And usually that new tail that grows is actually bigger and stronger. So if you just cut off the extreme, and you get rid of one half of that, and let me see if I can draw what I'm talking about. Um, it grows back but stronger. So if we have these two extremes, and say we consider one of these to be like the right way of doing things and one as the wrong way. If we were to just cut off what we consider what's wrong, it grows back, but it grows back even bigger and stronger. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. It's been 6 years you've had a hard time. Well, let's really think through this, because especially if you're feeling like this is connected and these messages are connected to those 6 years, see how this relates. And don't hesitate to ask me questions to help you be able to see how this message is relating, so that it can help you um, get meaning from those 6 years. Because we don't, it sucks, but we don't go through things for no reason. So this too really is about understanding that we can see these two extremes. We can see that there's stuff that we would define as right and stuff that we define as wrong, that there's always these extremes, but we can't just cut it off. We can't just cut it off because it'll grow back bigger and stronger. And so instead, the two is saying, what are the pieces and perspectives um, that you can bring from both of these extremes? So, what can you bring from both of these extremes to find a neutral position? So, what can you bring from both of these extremes to be able to end dualism by creating something new out of both of them? And this is not easy at all, because it's always easier to just try and cut off one extreme. But going to one extreme to try and get as far away from the other extreme is not good, because being, having excess or extreme of anything is not good for us. We need to be in a neutral space. So even if we like think about food, if we go excessive on anything, it's not good for us. And so we have to find a neutral position. Mm, that that is a lot. Thank you for um, bringing your honesty and your truth. Um, that adds a lot to the story and to the vibrations. And I hope that um, you know that you're not alone in that, and that you have connected with people that can support you in any ways that we can, and that here and in this conversation, hopefully we can bring you, and I can help bring you some um, energetic support and vibrational support as you go through that, because those are huge issues, huge issues. And while they're not for no reason, that doesn't mean that it's at all easy or should not be acknowledged, that they are very hard. So you should be very wrapped in love, um, and not just commended for your strength, even though you should be, but more so comforted and wrapped in love. So hopefully, I and those that are around you are able to do that. You're very welcome. So as you have questions coming up, um, please do feel free to put those in the chat so that we can talk about them, and relate it back to the bigger message. Because what it feels like, Annie, is that you have there is these messages that are coming through to you are messages that are very big. They're connected to the bigger whole. And I think that's why you have now been able to bring it to this space, because these lessons that are to be learned, they're not just yours, and they're really not for you to go through alone. Like, we're meant to be working on this together and understanding this together. Oh, hi, Judy. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Okay. So, with 72, this first step is to end dualism. But remembering that you cannot end dualism by getting rid of one extreme. Oh, of course, Annie. It's not. No, there's no way for it to not be tough. There's no way for any of that to not be tough. So please do not ever think that you have to be strong, not for me or in front of me. Here you can be comfortable being in your most authentic truth at any one moment. That's hopefully the space that I can hold for you and for others. So when we are trying to get to this two, we're really having to see, okay, there are these two extremes. And this is with anything. Like, even if you think about even just like one emotion of like happy, where we all say, oh, I just want to be happy. But there's these extremes of happy, of how we define it and what it looks like and how it plays out, that being at either one of those extremes is not good. Um, Please do. Please, please, please do. I'm so glad that you're able to be vulnerable, because then that's how you can heal. And I can feel your energy. I'm actually trying not to cry. I'm trying to let that be your release, but definitely here for you. So if we can end this dualism, if we can find a place of neutrality, and this 72 is coming from your dream, Annie. So this is the message that you've been shown. Welcome back, Nikki. We're talking about 72 and mirror images. We got here because Annie had a dream with 72. So let me recap real quick, since we've had Judy and Nikki come back in. Let's recap. So we started with 72, but we first then we're looking at, wait, 72 is actually the mirror image of today's date. And today is this last 999 portal. So it's the 27th. And so we were talking about how when you have these reflections, these mirror images, it's always tough because the steps that you're taking are changing. And every single relationship that we have, and it doesn't matter if it's like a stranger you've seen for 2 seconds on the street, or if it's a long lasting relationship or with a family member, they are going to reflect back to you some of these lessons that you need to learn. And the lessons really are about, can you get the steps you were given? Can you get them to be so solid in your life that they could be flipped around and they still work? but that's the challenge. And so Annie brought us this number 72. And the first thing we realized is that this is the numerical vibration of hip hop, of the name hip hop. And then it's the mirror image of today. And today is this last 999 portal. So, some interesting things happening here. These are some big messages. And so the first step in 72 is this ending of dualism. And the only way you can end dualism is to find a neutral position between the extremes. But you can't find a neutral position without recognizing the extremes. So, you know how we have seen, I'm sure we've all seen this either in ourselves or in life, that uh, has like made it where we have been pushed to one extreme. So if you're pushed to one extreme, your tendency is to go to the other extreme. And that's because you have to know what both of these extremes are. You have to see these extremes clearly to be able to find a neutral position. Oh, let me see. Okay, I see stuff in. Oh, Annie, that this makes sense then why you've been drawn to hip hop, because this vibration is of 72 is the numerical vibration of hip hop. And so that is what is holding your messages for you. And knowing how deeply connected you are to Hanuman Kind's music, that a lot of that messaging is probably coming through there as well. Like we talked on a previous live of how those songs and those artists can hit us differently with those vibrations. So that's very cool that the universe is loving on you and giving you these messages, and connecting you in the right spaces and to the right people and to the right music to help you through. That's very cool. Okay, Nikki says, "Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. I was wondering about that, Nikki. Okay, that's good to know. So yes, we will make sure to have some time for you to let me know. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Annie says, "Yes, Annie, and that's exactly what we talked about. Um that it really is like like there's just certain vibrations and certain artists that do. They connect straight to your soul. It's like they have um pulled a message from God to give to you. This is why so many people um look at Kendrick Lamar and Hanuman Kind and other artists like them, um that are speaking and delivering deeper soul filled messages that are hitting us different. That's why we see them as prophets. Yeah, because it's hitting us different. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh yeah. We can definitely look at that, Annie. We can, because it's very much has to be some kind of connection there. Yeah, it's amazing. That's amazing. So he has deeper messages for you, even um, outside of his music. And if you're connected in that way, then it does mean that you are now being put in a position to mirror for him some lessons while you are getting reflections of messages from him. That's amazing. Oh, yes, Nikki. Malice for sure. I've been resonating with Malice's story and his, like, not just his messages that he puts into his raps, but like when he's speaking in interviews, and then also just his story and his state of being. Like, it's amazing. Yes. Yes. Okay. I'm so glad that, like, this is making sense and being helpful. That we we need to be able to see where our messages are coming from. That's amazing. Okay. So let's get back to this. So I did see, Annie, you asked, how can we end dualism? And so I'm going to redraw this at the bottom. So for anybody that has been here, I apologize, you have to see it again, but sometimes the repetition, you get something new. So if we have two extremes, and we know that being at either extreme is not good. So, like, I'll give you kind of a weird example because it's easier to relate to like a non-emotional example. Uh, but I don't know. It makes me emotional sometimes. So if we have these two extremes, and one we define as like right and one we define as wrong. And so if we're looking at the benefits of dairy, so one side, like one extreme, is all dairy everything, and the other side is no dairy. And so we have these extremes. And so we know from our dietary like needs that you can't be on either one of these extremes. But for somebody like me, who I love dairy, but I am not supposed to be eating it. Because not only am I like lactose intolerant, like many of my melanated brothers and sisters, um, but I also, dairy causes inflammation in my body that like wreaks havoc in my body. But oh, I love dairy. So all dairy everything would eventually kill me. Like, it would be really bad. Um but if I'm not having any kind of dairy, if I'm not recognizing what the benefits of dairy are, then I'm probably am not going to get enough calcium, or I'm not getting, some of these other minerals that I need. Not to mention the taste. And don't believe anything that these crazy nutritionists tell you. I'm going to tell you a quick story. So when I found out that I can't have dairy at all, like no dairy, I'm not supposed to have any dairy. I still do cheat, I'll admit. I went to a nutritionist and I was asking for like replacements of things that I couldn't have anymore. And she was like, "Oh, if you like dairy, then you'll love cashew cheese. You'll love cashew cheese. Here's a recipe to make cashew cheese." Cashew cheese is just some mashed up cashews. I didn't know that. I was so pissed. I was so pissed. She was like, "Oh, you can use cashew cheese and like sprinkle it on." I was like, "Mm-mm. Not only does this not taste the same, but it doesn't melt. It doesn't have any of the texture. Like, I'm a big texture person." So that, I was so pissed. I was so pissed. I think I dropped that nutritionalist. I was like, I need a nutritionalist that um, can really understand me. And then I did. I found one. But okay. So there's my cashew cheese story. Oh, I was so mad. I was so mad. My daughter thought it was so funny because I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna make cashew cheese, and I'm gonna be so healthy." But my youngest daughter is allergic to tree nuts, so I was like, "We'll make cashew cheese, and then we'll find something else for replacement for you." Yeah, no, no. I think I ate nothing but dairy that day. I was so pissed. I was so mad. I spent so much time trying to make cashew cheese, and then it was horrible, nasty stuff. Oh, yep, yep. It's probably very similar to like what I was having, Annie, where I was found that I am so like none of my allergies, like my food allergies, came up on allergic like tests. So they kept telling me I wasn't allergic to anything, but I was having like so many autoimmune issues. And it turned out it was all that I was eating. But it also was like these extremes, like eating too much. So like eating too much sugar. That's the other another one where it's like, oh god, sugar have you addicted and you have a horrible time with it. We could talk about that more, Annie. I could tell you more about my inflammation journey. Okay. So, back to dualism here. So, if we say, okay, we're going to try and get rid of this dualism, this back and forth, by just cutting off this side. First of all, you still have an end. So you still have an extreme there. You always have to have an extreme. But just like any of these amazing creatures that can just grow back their limbs, this extreme grows back, but it actually grows stronger. So, like with my dairy, when I took myself cold turkey off of dairy for I think it was like I think I lasted like 2 months maybe where I just had no dairy. This like craving and desire for dairy came back even stronger. Like I was like, "Oh no, what is happening? This thing is bigger and stronger. It's like really pulling me." So, if we try and get rid of dualism by cutting off one of the extremes, that extreme just grows, it gets bigger. Or if we pretend that it doesn't exist, because that's what we tend to do, just as humans in general, we pretend that it doesn't exist. Um, then it can come back stronger, and it could actually wreak more havoc. And so the way to actually end dualism, and we're seeing this in hip hop right now too, where we have these two sides. But the way that we can end the dualism is to figure out what are the good things about having dairy or from one extreme, and what are the good things from the other extreme that then we can bring together to create something new and have like a neutral position. And so for this crazy dairy example, it was when I actually found um, the dairy free, soy free cheese. There's one particular brand, I think it's Daya, where it actually melts. It actually tastes like cheese. It has the texture of cheese, but there's no dairy or soy in it. So it's figuring out what are the things that we need from both extremes, but we can create something new in a neutral position. That's how you end dualism. So if we think about like the number 11, like the vibration 11, when we have 11, this is us balancing between extremes. That's not actually good either, because we're running back and forth between these extremes. We're allowing them to remain the extremes. And we're running back and forth between these extremes, where what we need to find is actually a new way of being at neutral. Oh, thank you for sharing that story, Judy. Oh, I love that. I love stories like that. Does this answer your question, Annie, about how to get rid of dualism? So 11 is balancing between um, these extremes, whereas the 2, so this is 2 here. 2, being in a neutral position and creating something new from that neutral position, that's actually getting rid of dualism. So I've been getting a lot of messages. Um, wow. For the last probably like 5 years, going on 6 years now, um, about how we are really supposed to be moving away from being in this 11 vibration. So balancing between the extremes and moving to a 2. Because a 2 is actually a higher vibration than 11 is. Okay, let me catch up on chats. Okay, okay. Yeah, but that's probably the lesson, Annie, is figuring out what are these extremes and how do we bring it together. So, like another example for me was figuring out where I kept being told, "Oh, I needed work-life balance," because I tend to be a workaholic. It's that Capricorn brain. It's that Capricorn brain. Um, but I really wanted to spend more time with my daughters, especially because at a moment in time where they were really struggling in school, my oldest in particular, and not struggling academically, but being bullied and all of that, and just growing up. And so I had to figure out how, and I'm like trying to balance work and home, like, and just life in general. But it wasn't until I was like, this is dumb. I need to combine them to that I was able to create a new way of being that had them both. So we actually, I ended up quitting my jobs, and it was a shift. It wasn't like a hard ending. So this relates back to us talking about this shifting as well, where it was shifting from balancing into being in this new place where I left my job, started working 100% online, took them out of school so they could be 100% online, and then we moved into an RV and traveled around. And so from that one RV place, I was working and I was living and spending time with my daughters. And even when we weren't in the RV anymore, being able to um, establish that new way of being still allowed me to figure out how do I work and be there for like their extracurricular activities or be there for homework? And also, how do I, work and pursue school and be there for them? Yeah, exactly, Annie. So it is like figuring out, like sometimes the universe just does that for us. Okay, so if you're an Aquarius, then that makes sense because then that you very much are you prefer one extreme over another. And so then that can make it hard sometimes to see and accept both extremes. So that so the sun sign, which is what we usually use, is how our brain works. So your brain works like an Aquarian. An Aquarian very much is against the norm, but that can make it so that you go to one extreme over another sometimes. And so you need to accept that you need to be able to um, accept that there are these extremes and find a very middle ground. Yeah, yes, you and me both, Annie. Because me being Capricorn, I'm right there with you, next to those Aquarians. Where, yeah, that side of the zodiac very stubborn. We know how to dig our heels in. But we also can remind me, and we'll look at how we can make these lessons very specific to you. Because that would be using your life path number. Okay, so we just got through this first one, but hopefully you see like this first step is not an easy step. This first step is really hard in figuring out how to end dualism, and it's not something that ends all the time. But this is also what hip hop is needing to learn, but also is the vibration that hip hop puts out just by its name being hip hop. And it's asking the world to end this dualism while it's trying to end dualism within itself as well. You don't have to pardon your French here because I know, and yes, it is. But you could see, like, this is a first step is really hard. And so if you have this mirror image, whether it's coming through as a lesson from, and usually it's from people. Our blessings, our everything, vibrational exchange at this human level, um, it comes through people. It comes through people. It comes through the random stranger that is like just tells you something and you're like, whoa, that's like life changing. And then you never see them again. All the way to like people that you see every single day. Um, and in working with them. But you can see how if that first step of 72 and that two of ending dualism is so hard, that somebody that has this as their second step, they may not have gotten there yet. They're not even thinking about this yet because their first step is 7. And so then this can bring contention. This can be really hard. But really, the lesson that needs to be like the overarching big thing is that in any of these relationships where we have these mirror image vibrations, we are supposed to be finding our neutral position or finding who we are so much, so solid that we can flip the steps and still be okay. Like that is when you know the lesson is learned. When you're able to flip the steps and you still are able to be okay. It's like being wise, whether you're comfortable or uncomfortable. That's when you know the lesson is fully learned. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Judy. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it's just like I was saying, even before you came in, Judy, that we have these vibrations that are kind of flowing around, and it's going to impact us all in similar ways, but also in different ways where we could have this opposite happening. So that's very much like over here where I just quickly talked about how this the spiral builds up and breaks down this energy, and when you're in a shift, it's happening at the same time. Hi, Mai. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you. Mighty. I love it. Thank you for being here. Yes. Yes, Annie. Yeah. No, healing is not at all easy in any way, ever, ever, ever. But it is a very beautiful journey. Thank you for sharing. And that relates to this spiral. But before we get there, I do want to talk about this seven just real quick. And then we'll talk about the spiral because that actually will relate to what you were getting, Annie, as far as messaging, also. Thank you, Mighty. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it, Mai. Tell you the hubby hello and enjoy hubby day. Yes, roller coaster is the right word. Roller coaster is definitely the right word. Um, okay, so real quick. So if the first step is ending dualism, then that means, hi, Doc, thanks for being here. Once you're able to end dualism as the first step, now you, from this neutral position, you can take action because now you're in vibrational flow. But this cannot be the first step. So if um, you've been finding it like you're trying to take action, but it keeps like starting and stopping, and it's really hard to do things, it's probably because you're trying to take action before ending dualism. Because we have to do it in these steps. And if this is the vibration that's coming through for you, Annie, then it really is letting you know these are the steps that you need to take. And it seems like you're getting this message in multiple ways because you're dreaming about this number 72, but then you're also being embedded within this hip hop community where hip hop is resonating at 72 also. Yes. So it's yes. And I think that is for most of us. And you can see how somebody that is resonating this 27 could be really, to put it honestly, fucking annoying because their first step is to take action. So their first step is to figure out how to take action in flow, how to find that vibrational pocket and then be able to move into it. That's the first lesson. That's the first part of the lesson. And then they end dualism. But if you're over there wanting to take action, and you can't because you have to end dualism first, then yeah, they're gonna get on your fucking nerves. But I think that's also what we're seeing kind of happening in hip hop, where a lot of action is trying to be taken, but it's not in flow because first dualism has to end. We have to recognize that there are both benefits and consequences of both extremes. Yeah. Yes, you did, and you're right. So it's really focusing on the lesson. But again, the way you know that your lesson has been like fully actualized is when you can flip it and still understand the lesson and still be you, because all of our lessons are to build up the identity and the authenticity of the identity of who we are. And so when we're able to flip that lesson and still be able to stand in the authenticity of our new identity, of who we've become through our lessons, now you know that you've fully embodied that wisdom. And that's when you're not operating from 72 or from 27 anymore, but you are operating from a place of 9, because both of these are 9. So you're operating from a place where you're able to move seamlessly to ending things and shifting energy. And you can operate in that vibrational flow effortlessly. So any of our lessons are like this, and we're not, it's like never just one freaking lesson at a time. It's like we got to learn all kinds of lessons. But if you think about it, like when you first are like kind of starting on recognizing that you need to go on this healing journey, which is so annoying. Healing is annoying. It's very beneficial, but it's annoying. And I have to remind myself all the time that, like, there's no reason to even be here living this life if you're not going to grow, if you're not going to heal and grow. And fully growing is healing. And so it is like, it's kind of like when you first start. So like say when you first start kindergarten. So when you first go to school, you just have your one little lesson. And some people didn't learn this lesson. You have your one little lesson of how to share and be a good person. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people that did not learn that lesson. But you usually start with this one lesson. And as you are growing in identity, and as you're growing as a person, and you're getting more into this authentic self, because you can only fulfill your purpose from an authentic identity. That's why also, like, we're seeing just in life, but also in hip hop, where you see the crumbling of inauthentic identities, basically, because once that those lessons get too thick. So like once we're up to like 5th grade, now we have multiple lessons that we're having to balance and figure out at one time. So like if this one is your 72, now this one you're dealing with 72, you dealing with all these others also at the same time. Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying as hell. But it is our reality and it's everybody's reality. And when we really start embracing and understanding that we can actually move through these lessons um, in a place of relational acceptance. So when we accept that a true, authentic relationship is meant to push us to these lessons and to become more solid in our identity and what we stand for and our authenticity, now we can move through some of these things as a community. And I think that's what's happening in hip hop. Hip hop is beginning to move through some of these lessons, and especially like these lessons of 72 and of its life path number, which is 39, together as a community and like building up each other. But we also still got, issues, still things to work on. Yeah, Annie, and I think we all are on this journey to find our purpose, but we have to find our most authentic self um, in a neutral position before we can. Oh, somebody got their radio loud. I don't know if you could hear that. We'll just use it as confirmation. But it is like to really fully step into your purpose is to um, figure out this identity. And it's interesting. I don't know where I'm going with this because I'm already all over the place, and I've only been here for a little while. But we'll go here. So the word purpose actually resonates at 110, and it goes to 2. So that's also why that 2 lesson, that 2 step, that 2 vibration is so difficult because it is purpose. You can't have purpose without figuring out how to stop balancing between these extremes and create something new from a neutral place. So we have to figure out how to move through this lesson. And we're moving through this lesson at many different levels of relationship. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Judy. No, it is definitely not just you. It's not just you. But there are like there are some of us that we're meant to fulfill our purpose. And I go back and forth on this with my own purpose of like, is it in an inward space or an outward space? So every single purpose that somebody is fulfilling has to be fulfilled, has to happen for the whole to be able to grow vibrationally. So this can come back to thinking about that spiral. So energy moves in a spiral. Well, energy is made up of vibration, and vibration moves in spirals. So if we have, and so in this spiral, it includes the micro all the way to the macro. So, for example, we have this spiral of energy and it's going in both directions. So we're building up the energy moving in one direction, and we're shifting and breaking down the energy moving in the opposite direction. This is happening at the same time. Exactly, Annie. As above, so below. And that's exactly what's happening with this spiral. So if we have one person here, so if this is you, we'll put me. This is me. This is each individual. But this vibration, your purpose, your addition to this vibrational spiral, then expands out to those that you can consider family. And I say it that way because it's not always necessarily your family you're born into. That's one of the lessons we have to learn. This can then expand out into like a culture that you're part of. So like in this case, this can expand out to this hip hop culture or community. Let me move this over a little. Just a little. Okay. And then this goes even further where, yes, you're exactly right, Annie. Where then this can keep going further because now this could just be the world, Earth, and the whole thing. This is collective consciousness. It's all of it together. So this is God or the universe. So this is what I mean by it's going from the micro, from the individual, and it's going all the way up to that collective consciousness, that God, that universe, and even beyond. And all vibration moves in this way. So if we think about this like in terms of like in our everyday lives, when we have, so say at the center, this is like our lesson, or this is the hard thing we're going through. That's at the center of this vibration. So I don't like calling it a test because it's not a test, it's a lesson. But it sucks. Regardless of what we call it, it just fucking sucks. Just put, you suck. Because it just does. It just sucks. I needed to put that. It feels better. But, so when you're starting working with this lesson, the spiral is like here. And this can look very big. So you encounter it and it looks very big. But you learn part of the lesson and you're able to move through. And then you build up in vibration and you encounter it again and you're like, okay, this still really fucking sucks. But at least it's a little smaller than the first time I encountered it. And so then you go through and you learn your lesson and then you come back around and you're like, what the fuck? You're still here? But you, okay, I'm going to learn this lesson. And then you come back around and you're building vibration all this time. Then you get here again and you're like, okay, you're not that bad, but I can't believe you're still here. And you move through, learn the lesson, come back around, and eventually you get to a point where it's still there, but it doesn't bother you at all. So you've raised the vibration of it. You've worked through that lesson and raised the vibration enough where the lesson, that burden, that whatever the fuck you are, you suckity suck, is still there. But we've now risen above it This is when you're able to flip those steps. This is also when you're in a very neutral place. This is where you find purpose, because this whole path is your purpose, but you're able to start fulfilling your purpose once you've gotten here. So if we think about like hip hop, we do have examples in hip hop, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So we talked about like Kendrick Lamar, we talked about Malice, we talked about Hanuman Kind, and I'm sure there's others that it's like it doesn't phase them. So I think about like Malice in these interviews where a lot of times it was Pusha T that was talking about the hard things that they were going through to be able to get their album out, and the things they were encountering and the lessons they were having to learn. And Malice would just be sitting there a lot of times like straight faced and then sometimes laughing. And then whatever came out of his mouth after would be so profound. And it's because like working through that mess became his message, just like he said. Yeah. Well, let's see, because I think Nikki, were you had something? If you're still here, you can go ahead and put what you wanted to share in the chat, and then anybody else, go ahead and put in the chat, and we can, and then we'll come back to you, Annie. This was great. Like this was really like, and this is leading into like some of the messages that I was supposed to talk about today. Yeah, but I wonder, Judy, if he did learn lessons, but from a perspective we didn't expect. Because remember, learning your lessons, you learn your lessons to be able to step in your most authentic self. And if he has been playing roles this whole time, that what we're actually seeing is his authentic self. I wonder about that. If this is just authentically who he is, and he's struggling with right now, like, how do I stand in this authentic self that I've now revealed at the same time as continuing to play this role now that everybody knows I'm playing a role? It's so interesting. But I don't want to talk about him. It's almost like because remember, this energy is moving in both directions. So it's just like thinking about change, where change is a neutral vibration, and so it can move in any direction. So you're not just changing for the better, you could change for the worse also. Exactly, Judy. Especially because, especially when it's young people that have had to step into that acting role, and they haven't at a young age been able to separate their acting role identity from their own authentic identity. Because when you're a child actor, you really have to be building those two things up at the same time. You have to be building up your true authentic identity at the same time as you're building up this actor identity, because they don't always mix. Same with any artist. And we had like a lot of these artists that came into hip hop, they came into hip hop pretty young. They were coming into hip hop as like teenagers and stuff. And so it's kind of cool now to be able to see these older hip hop artists, or like some of these original hip hop artists like come back around, and you can see how they've grown as an individual, but they still have their hip hop um, identity as well, and how the two are more meshed together. So let me see what Annie says. Mm. Nope, that doesn't sound crazy. I've definitely had experiences like that. And so it's, yeah, so that's so interesting. And have you dug into that anymore, Annie? Of like what is the representation of Shiva and Jesus coming to you? Because there's definitely some of these messages in there. Okay, I'm while I'm waiting for the writing in the chat to commence. Um, I did want to, let me see, is it here? Oh, we'll just rewrite it. So I just wanted to make sure I said again, for all those in the back, thank you for everybody being here. I really appreciate it. Even if you're not chatting, that's okay. I appreciate you all being here and supporting me and having this discussion with me. It's great. Um, but what is coming up more and more is about what is happening with this shift. And it's because um, the nine is not an ending, it really is a shift. And so this spiraling that's happening, it's like the building up of energy in order to uh, have energy to move into a new space is going really fast, because that's like this new energy that's coming in, and we're doing all this work to build up the energy, but at the same time the energy for like breaking down the energy or shifting the energy, which is that nine energy, is also going really fast and is happening a lot. So what we've felt in this last month has been extra of this nine energy of breaking down those vibrations, um, in order to build them up in a new way so that they can shift. Oh, hi, New Beginnings. Thank you for being here. All right, I gotta go back. I gotta go back. While I'm going back, let me get a drink. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think you're right, Judy, and that um yeah, that part of him, of like truly being Lawbry and suing and going into court, um that's always been part of his identity, his authentic identity, and we're just seeing it now. um just as a side note, one of the things that I saw that I thought was pretty interesting is that we all have like a 3.5 year span where it's like new moon energy, so it's extremely fertile energy. And so this new moon energy, when we step into this new moon energy, this is when we can like start longer projects. So we can start a new project, but this project could be for like 30 years. And so, because it also is that long of a period, this new moon energy is usually used also for identity building. And Laubrie stepped into this new moon energy in March 2025. And we saw that he started going to court. So he's had family court that was happening. But then also started with his own lawsuits around this time also. So he stepped into this new moon energy with these vibration. And so we could probably expect that this is more of his authentic identity. And we are going to see these antics for quite a long time. But on the flip side, that actually makes me really excited, Kendrick Lamar stepped into this new moon energy in May. So as he was really revving up and getting into these GNX tour, so he's bringing all of this touring and like newer music, like doing the commercials and the Super Bowl and all those things. He's planting all those seeds in this new moon energy also. So we could potentially be seeing that this is more of Kendrick's authentic self. And it could be starting a brand new way of doing things, a brand new project that could last for 30 years, which would be great. Just as long as it's not a new album every 5. Can we get music a little bit more frequently than that? Appreciate it. All right, so that's just a side note. Good side note, but just a side note. All right, so let me get back to, let's see. What? Yeah, then that's the purpose, Annie. So if when you are meditating, you're able to um, feel this greater presence that is bringing you comfort, then that's its purpose. That's the purpose of that vibration. And as you interact with that vibration in whatever form it comes to you. So if the form is coming to you as like Shiva and Jesus, then that's who you begin to build relationship with. So then you can learn. Hey, Cousin B, thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here. So does that make sense? Man, you missed so much new beginnings. Oh man. That's all right. Cuz we go wherever we are meant to. I didn't see, I don't know why I'm not seeing. Nikki, if you did put in what you wanted to talk about, I'm not seeing it. So if you're here and put it in, please put it in again. Um, YouTube's being weird. I'm just saying that. I've seen that with mine and with other people's stuff. It's being weird. So if I missed it, I did miss it. Um, don't worry, Annie. I'm so glad you're here and you finally caught it. Yes, we can do your life path number because I already did it when you gave me your birthday earlier, but it wasn't the right time. So now can be the right time as we wait for other people to go ahead and put in their questions or numbers. Because I think I got most of what I needed to talk about today, which really was about um, as we're shifting, whether it's within hip hop or as a whole, that we have to understand that this energy is building up at the same time that it's going down, because energy cannot be created or destroyed, and all energy is vibration. So as we're building up this vibration, this energy in one space to be able to make this shift, it's breaking down in others. And it's not always going to be how we think it is. And it doesn't need to be at these extremes. We're not even supposed to have those extremes. So that's really what I needed to talk about. So we can definitely talk about whatever else. Thank you for adding that, Judy. Yes, it's very true. All right, so let's look at this life path number. So we have January 31st. We start with the year. And then we add the month and we add the day. And I'll go ahead and do it again. So we have 23 plus 1 plus 31. And just right off the bat, 23 is the numerical vibration of I am. So anyone born in a year that resonates this way is automatically going to have some, I don't know if it's like extra or it's like a deeper connection to identity lessons. So this makes sense with what we already have been talking about. That's where some of it is coming from, is here. But then this all adds up to 55. So your life path number is 55. So you have one of these master numbers where the vibration is creating like a momentum, but it's a momentum of change. And so you have a lot of change energy in here, which means that you tend to change very often. Like you're okay with change. It doesn't make you uncomfortable. So you probably are moving and shaking a lot. So like moving physical locations, moving what you think, moving like who you're around, and especially being an Aquarian, this is fine for you. The thing is that you have to be careful with is like going to that extreme level of change where you're changing so much that you're not building up solid connections. Yep, all this 5. Yep, 5 again. And 23 again. So you have a lot of this 5 energy, which is good because it means that you can adapt easily, you can go through change easily, but you don't want to get to the point where you're changing so much that you don't have, because you could feel at times like you don't have solid ground if you're changing too much. Also, this 55 is the numeric vibration of the word karmic. I don't know why I wrote 11. So a lot of times what's happening is the lessons that are coming through, things that you're encountering, they can feel very karmic, but a lot of them actually are. And not like karmic, like where we think about karma as only a bad thing. Um, it's like the combination of karma and dharma, where it's the return of energy in different forms, and it's based on the perspective that you're in. So the things that you would counter a lot of times, it could feel very karmic. Um, and so you got to make sure that you're not getting caught up in like that karmic energy flow. Um, and you're not like trying to run away from anything that does make you feel karmically uncomfortable by changing too much. Because really, where you're supposed to be able to get to, so you're supposed to figure out what this change is, and remembering and learning that change can happen in any direction. And so it's being intentional with the direction in which you're changing. So how do you use this energy and this ability to change so seamlessly in a way that's actually going to build up the life that you really intend and want to have? Because then this takes you to the 10 and then to a 1. Exactly. Exactly, Annie. And that's why that line, that lyric probably resonates with you so much. Because you're like, yeah, duh. Because you have all of this 5 change energy. So, of course, change is going to feel like the only constant. But what you are needing to learn for yourself so you can help others to learn is how to be intentional with your change. That you're not just changing for survival. You're not just changing to be different or to fit in, but you're intentionally making the change to move towards the life that you want to live. And once you're able to do that, then you come into this place, and this could be what like a lot of this dreaming space is trying to show you as well, is that once you are intentional with this change that you're making, because it's a lot of change, like your life is going to be change after change after change, but you have to be intentional with that change to get the life that you want, and to really embrace the change very much. But then it gets you to this place where now you have this greater opportunity to have this God energy come in. So this energy that nobody can control. So going through all this change is helping you to be able to learn how to be intentional with your change so that you understand what you can control and what you cannot. Because once you understand that, now this God energy can come in and can give you everything new that you've been trying to manifest. And then that's what you can bring into the world. That's part of your purpose in the world, is to bring these new ways of thinking, these new ways of seeing the world, these new ways of doing something, and then like these new ways of intentionally using change, but it has to be out of your own experiences, your own lessons. That's pretty crazy deep. So that makes sense that you would feel like this purpose is so deep for you, because you have this karmic energy that's coming in, and then you also have this path that's trying to get you to this God energy at that 0. So it can feel very big. So then for everybody, when you are encountering vibration, so when you're seeing numbers, you're encountering different people that have their life path number as well, you can use your life path number with that number to understand what that vibration is doing and how you work with it. So for you, Annie, where you came in today, um, wanting to discuss this vibration of 72 that you keep feeling and keep encountering, and remembering that this vibration of 72 is also hip hop. It's the name hip hop resonates at 72. That what we can do is you can add your life path number to this, and that's actually going to give you some more information about how you're resonating with this. Okay, well, if you thought that was crazy, wait till you see this. So if we add this up, we get 127. And we were just talking about how this 72, like there's something about it in its mirror image of 27. So when you're working with 72, you really are supposed to be working with how to reverse that lesson, that vibration. It's going to come across as a 127. So meaning this 72 vibration is bringing you these lessons that are going to be harder for you. They're going to be hard lessons because this 27 is in there, which is resonating as that reflection. And the reflection is the hardest. So you're working with 72, but as you're working with 72, this 127 is continuously coming up. But by getting to a place where you're able to really work with this 72 lesson to where you're fine working with the mirror image, with the reflection of it, which feels backwards and opposite, then you're able to get to this new energy. You're able to get to this one. And you were talking about how it takes you to, you're really wanting to search for your purpose. Well, 127 adds up to 10, which gets you to your 1, which is your life path number. Whoa. So there you go. You got some deep messages there, girl. You got some deep messages right there today. So as you're working through, so like continuing to work with like hip hop and Hanuman Kind's lyrics within hip hop, it's really going to help you to begin to really work with this 72 energy. So then you're able to get to these bigger pieces. This really is like some life purpose stuff that you're working on. Yeah. Yep. Holy shit is right. Yes, this is amazing. Oh, there you are, Nikki. Did you put in what you wanted? I wanted to make sure I didn't miss yours. And then so we can talk at, let's see, Nikki's. We can look at Nikki's numbers or stuff. And then I was trying to think if there was anybody else that had something before you, New Beginnings. I don't think so. So then we can look at your numbers, New Beginnings. So Annie, what do you mean about like, oh, you, okay. Yeah. So sorry, I'm just listening. Um Okay. So what I'm hearing about like the other issues, the other things that are happening, Annie, is that more will be revealed as you work with this 72. So if with each one of those, you can break it down where each one of those you work through the 2 and then to the 7. So your first step I didn't glitch this time. Sometimes I be glitching for real, for real. Not this time. It just like whoever you got connected to you, which it seems like you have a lot. They had a lot to say. They had a lot to say. So I was listening. So your first step is this 2. So what you want to do is take those issues one at a time, and your first step is to look at what are the extremes. So what are the extremes? And this is you can even look at it as like what are the pros and the cons. Something like that. Not everything has like pros and cons. You could also look at it as like worst case, best case. Um, and so the first thing you're going to want to do is you want to look at these extremes so that you can find what is this place in the middle. Where can you find comfort and peace between these extremes? That's your neutral spot. And then from this neutral spot, you can go to step 2, which is actually taking action in flow. But it has to be from that neutral position. And you'll want to go one at a time. Oh, Nikki, that's so exciting. Yes, let's talk about it. You could put his birthday in the chat or his name or both, and we will talk about it. That's fun. So, Annie, this is what you're being told to do in this message is really work through one thing at a time. You're going to have to help yourself not just jump into action and change. Because we just saw with your life path number, you're quick to change. You ain't got no problem changing. But if you change too quick, you won't be able to go through these steps. And these are the steps that you need to go through to really be able to get it. To really be able to grow vibrationally and to get those lessons. So it seems like as you go through these steps with each one, then more will be opened up to you. And then you'll probably have more that you'll be able to bring to us. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good. I'm glad that helps. But, I'm around. I'm in Discord, in several Discord places. So you should be able to find me if you have additional questions as you go through it. Okay, let me get some water. I knew this was going to be a long one. It was crazy yesterday because I was like, all right, I'm going to do live. And I kept falling asleep. All of a sudden, I got so hungry, I couldn't even think about sitting here. I had to eat. It was nuts. So then I was like, all right, I'm just accepting that we just need to do one super long live that covers as much as possible in both the general way and in hip hop today. So that's what we're doing. Okay. So, Nikki, can you also put in the chat, remind me what your life path number is? Because I think I remember, but I don't want to assume. Because I'm done making an ass of myself. Just kidding, probably not. I'll probably do it later today. Stick my foot in my mouth or something. Okay. So let's get his life path number. So we have July 31st. I need the 2-digit number. Nikki, do you remember your 2-digit number? That's a good question, Annie. Um, okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was 50, but I couldn't remember. Woohoo! Look, my memory still works. So, actually, Annie, that's a good question. So, Annie's question was about if I'm clairvoyant. And so the clairs are all the ways that we can talk to and experience spirit. It's how we take in vibrations. Um, and we all have all of the clairs, um, but we usually have ones that are dominant. So clairvoyance is sight. And I don't know what the heck I have. Mine is probably more clairsentient, where I feel the vibrations, I feel the messages, and also claircognizant, where I just know. Sometimes I just know. And both of those are really weird to explain. So I explain a lot of times that I hear something, um, or I see something, because that's what people are used to hearing. So, okay. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay, moving on. So, we gotta first do the year 1989. You all, oh my gosh, you guys are having too much fun in the chat. I'm trying not to look because I'm gonna be all up in there with you, and I'll get distracted. I get distracted so easily. All right, so this is 27, and then we're gonna add the month and the day. Yeah, that I know that's why you asked, Danny. But yeah, but I usually say here or see, because it's easier for people to process. But what I'm actually doing is feeling it, or I actually am reading the numbers. So I see everything in numbers. Like, I've actually had doctors say that they think I have some form of synesthesia. You know, where like your senses are different. Like when people talk about tasting colors, I see everything in numbers. Like everything is a number. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Annie. Yep. Okay. So when we add this up, very interesting. Okay. So his life path number is 65, which goes to 11, then goes to a 2. So, where Nikki, you have nice. Okay. I love that, Nikki. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So you're Nikki, that would be classified as like clairvoyant. Yeah. Yeah. That number 2 is coming up for you quite often. So but with your 50 going to 5, that's your connection point. So your connection point with him is this 5. But where you could have some friction, and you may have had before, but it's fine as long as you're aware of it, is around what, when and how much change to make. So for you, having a 50, it means that you first have to accept that that energy that you can't control, so that God energy coming in, before you can make a change. But he's probably very quick to make a change because it's his first step. So there's going to be times where you probably are going to have to slow him down. And that's where some friction can happen. You're going to have to slow him down before making a change, especially because the changes that he's making are so closely tied to this six, where six is comfort. It's also like the feeling of family. So he wants to make these changes very quickly to get to a more comfortable space. So he's probably not very comfortable in like change just sitting there. Like a change needs to happen. But he has to learn how to have that happen in perfect timing, in divine timing, which is the lesson that you are bringing in, because this zero is divine. So you're bringing in this lesson for him of how to slow down enough to make sure that the changes that are being made are in the right direction. Because remember, change can happen in any direction. So we want to make sure that change is happening in the direction that he really wants to go and that you want to go together, to be able to really get to this place of comfort. That's wonderful, though, because if he's really spiritual already, that means he's already accepting some of this divine energy that you're bringing into your space. So that's probably another connection point where he feels that zero energy, and that's a connection point. And then you have another connection point in the change that you're making. Then he has just one extra step to be able to use that change, and this is what can help you, is using that change to create a place of comfort, to create a place that feels like home and family. And so you need to make sure that you're allowing him to do that. Because that's then the challenge for you, is that, yes, you're bringing in this divine energy that he needs to be able to slow down, to really make good change, and where you can make good change together, but with all of the information, and then shift it into building comfort and home and family. Because his 65 is going to this 11, the 11 is the master teacher. Well, it's a teacher energy. So we have, well, and it's actually more like, I'll explain it this way. It's actually more like tutor or mentor. So when we think about these master numbers, and like we just saw that Annie has a master number as well, but we have the 11 is like the tutor or the mentor. 22 is the like the teacher, and then 33 is like the master teacher. These are the three like master numbers that are meant to really push things into the world. Like they're meant to teach others, to be guides and models for others. We also have these other master numbers. So like 44, this is hope. So these people bring in a lot of hope and faith into the world. And then we do have 55, where it brings in the change. So he's meant to make these changes, but needs to learn how to make those changes from a patient, divine place, in divine timing. And then he's able to use that vibration to build up a place of comfort and family and home. He's meant to go through these lessons so that he could be a tutor, a mentor, like a model for others. But it's really important that he does not start to try and balance between these extremes. Because that 11 is balancing between those extremes, he could get pulled in too many directions at a time, and he could get overwhelmed, and frustrated. And this can make that teacher mentor role look distorted. So he needs to make sure that, in this teacher mentor role, that he's recognizing these different places he's getting pulled to be this teacher mentor. He's meant to draw in this new energy in those spaces, but he has to be humble enough to, also be the student. Because at this tutor mentor level, you are learning the lesson at the same time you're teaching the lesson. So has to be able to be in a place of like, I'm getting pulled in too many directions. There's something I'm not learning here, or I'm not applying this in a way that's going to be helpful. So he's one of those teachers, a tutor, mentor, that is learning it while he is giving it. But once he masters that, then he gets to this 2, where he is meant to help in dualism. So a lot of the lessons, that he is tutoring and that he's learning and that he's bringing to others is to end dualism, to not get pulled in all these directions. So when he learns how to not get pulled in all those directions while he's teaching it, then that's the bigger purpose, the bigger lesson that he brings to the world. Yes. Yes, I could see that very much so. That like it's not just like the responsibility in his community, it's um the need to learn the lesson while teaching it, because that's a very humbling space. It's how do you be the leader while still part of the community? And that's like the push pull, because all of those responsibilities that he's taking on, they're not his. It's like the community as a whole. The community as a whole should be bearing the weight of those responsibilities, because he's part of the community and he's getting pulled back and forth between leading the community and being part of the community. And he's got to find that central place. He's got to end that dualism. And that's like in all areas of his life. Mhm. Yeah. Well, and it's wonderful that he's doing so much, but he's going to run himself ragged because he's like he's too much in, this constant change. It's like change is not happening in a divine way, and he's getting stuck in this 11 where it's like being pulled back and forth. And what's coming up for me is like a lesson that I had to learn for myself. And I know I've said this before, so you may have been at one of the lives where I've said this before. But we have to figure out how to help and support people without taking on the lesson for them. And that was and continues to be a very hard one for me, especially with my daughters. So with our children, of learning like where can we and how can we support them in their life journey without trying to take it on for them, because they can't learn the lesson if we take it on for them. Hmm. But then here is the other thing. Yes, yes. So really, Nikki, what you are meant to do is you're meant to bring in this divine energy and help him to make these changes in divine timing. Because when that happens, when you're both able to be in your most authentic selves and work together, then you get to this place where you are taking action in flow. So you're meant to take this action. You're meant to take these steps and do these things and actually take action, but in the flow, in the vibrational flow, in that divine timing flow. Because this is where we have a perfect combination of masculine and feminine. Because masculine is the action while feminine is the flow. But you see, again, where the first step in you working together to do this is to take this change. So that's this big, huge point, is to make sure that you're taking this change, but in divine timing, not changing all the time. And then together, you are working on not getting pulled in all these directions. Because if he's getting pulled in all these directions, it's going to be hard for you not to get pulled in all these directions also. Because also you could get pulled in all, the direction of like, do I help or not? Am I helping or hurting? Like this back and forth. And that's not good for either of you. So as a couple, you have that lesson that you have to learn as well. But then when you figure that out, when you figure out how to make these changes in divine timing and listen to each other and allow each other to be these two individuals. So this is the 11 also, where you're these two individuals, but you're not pushing or pulling each other in different directions. You're moving together as a unit. Now you can get to this perfect action and flow. The other thing that is really beautiful here is that 115 is the numerical vibration of thank you and also love you. So these two words, thank and love, resonate the exact same. So these are two phrases that you're going to want to use all the time with each other. You're going to want to thank each other and have gratitude for each other in your individual roles very often. And also make sure you stay focused on the love. And you want to make sure that you're actually saying it. Love you. Okay. Oh no. Well, every relationship is meant to bring us these lessons. Mm-hmm. But those are the lessons. Those are the lessons. Yes, Annie, we'll do yours, but we have to do new beginnings uh numbers that she's been seeing. So new beginnings, if you want to put those in the chat again, we can look at those and then we can look at Annie's husband. Unless there's somebody else that has something else. Because I want to make sure everyone. Yeah. Yeah. No, we'll make sure that we get it on the list, Annie, but we want to make sure we get everybody else's too. Does this help, Nikki? Do you have any questions? So you might need to, Nikki, like figure out how to write this in your own words and then write it again with him. Okay, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Okay, good. You're very welcome. But this is like what you want to always come back to because these are your base vibrations. So these are like the vibrations that you can't change. It's who you are. And so you want to make sure that this is what you come back to. Okay, we're bumping heads, something's happening here. Let's go back and look at this. What is the change we're trying to make? Is it in divine timing? Am I putting him in a tailspin of going back and forth, or is he putting me in a place where I'm not able to allow this divine God energy to come in? Like, this is a way to be able to come back to that. And anybody can do this with everybody. So you can take somebody's birthday and get their life path number and even with people where it's like, all right, something's going on with my coworker. I don't know why he's being an asshat. Yes, I did say that. You can actually just take your names and see how your names are resonating with each other to know how to best work with each other. Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing. Oh, I would love that. Please keep us updated. That is so exciting. Okay, new beginnings. Okay, you ready? Okay. Can you put your numbers in the chat again? You can just put the numbers. Unless you have like a dream or something else with those numbers. But I was looking in the chat and I can't find them. And my eyes are bad. And we don't want to talk about that. Well, I don't want to talk about that. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for those that are just able to listen. Your energy feels really good and welcoming and supportive. So thank you for that. I feel you. I appreciate you. Okay. I don't know what numbers you. Yeah, I I felt your numbers before you even put them in there. I all of a sudden, whoo, whoo, you guys are man. You tapping into some big energy, sis. Cause woo wee. All right. Cause as soon as that message started coming through, good gracious. Okay, so is the first one four ones or three? I just want to make sure I get it right. Um, Also, the other thing to let me know, are you seeing these like back to back or are these like repeating? So, because this is very much a bigger message that's coming in. Um, I've been seeing this message for like all of us. Um, yeah, these angel numbers. So, to start with, a lot of times and I know you've heard me say it, but I'm going to say it again. When we see these repeating numbers, it's to get our attention. So this is like a big fat hello from the universe, from God. It's like, hello, look over here, look over here. So it's trying to get our attention so that you can start getting the bigger messages that are coming through, to get the bigger information that's coming through. Um, we call these angel numbers, even though they're not really different than all of these other vibrations. Um, but we call them angel numbers because of the way they vibrate. So when you have a vibration that is right next to other vibrations that are vibrating the same way, it's like amplifying that vibration. So all of these and other angel numbers, they really are like having multiple speakers playing the same song. So it's like the difference between um, playing a song through a little portable speaker versus having, the three big, huge speakers like at a concert. That's why these are used to get your attention. Yeah, you are, Judy. Um, that's why these are used to get your attention. They're used to get your attention because they are amplified, but they're not always the message themselves. So that's why I asked if you are seeing these same ones over and over again, or if it's angel numbers just in general. When it's angel numbers just in general, that's where they're just using for you to get to look in that direction. It's trying to get the message to you, and it's to get your attention. This can also happen when we have song lyrics, especially if it's one lyric in particular that are repeating in our head. It's to get your attention to a message that is trying to come through. And so the first thing is to recognize that these are trying to get your attention to give you a message. And so you have to start figuring out how to be able to receive that message, whether it's from these vibrations or other vibrations. And one of the things to do is to um, start charting, and I know I've said this a lot too, but start like documenting when you see these numbers. Um, like so that you can see what order you're seeing them, so you can see if there's a pattern. But also, um, even if it's just a little note of like, how am I feeling when I see these numbers? What am I thinking about? Am I around a certain person? Am I thinking about a certain person? Because that'll give you more information also. Yeah, that is the hard part. And that's why a lot of people get stuck at um they just keep seeing angel numbers. And there's some people that they just see the angel numbers. So I have a friend who she just sees the angel numbers, but she's learned how to, when she sees these angel numbers in succession, then she goes into meditation so that she can receive the message. So she knows, so like the angel numbers are her getting her attention, but it's also confirmation that she's getting the correct message. So, if we go through each of these real quick, when you're seeing all these ones, this is new energy coming into the space. Now, we have to remember with all of these, especially with angel numbers, because angel numbers can feel very big and powerful. That it's all based on our perspective. So, like, if we think about the angel number 666, where there's a lot of people that consider that to be a bad number or bad juju, it's because it's from their perspective. It's from their belief system. It's from their experience. It's from what they've been told. So your perspective, how you're seeing these angel numbers, is changing how you feel about them and how you'll feel about the message. So that's why it's also important to start documenting, even if it's just what you feel. Kind of the same thing about like if you're seeing the angel number 777 or working with the angel number 777, where so many people think it's like a lucky number, that they've ingrained that in their perspective. And so now all of this gambling and the casinos and stuff can use that to give you a false sense of confidence that you're going to win. So you have to make sure you know what perspective you're in. Oh no, 666 is extremely powerful. And I think that's why it's been given this negative or bad number persona. Same with like 13, because it's actually extremely powerful. Because 666, oh no, I need to cough. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too loud. But 6 is comfort. It's like breaking down your comfort zone so that you can find true comfort. And this adds up to 18, which is the energy of the moon and a true ending. This is like super powerful energy. And so I think it's been given like this negative persona, so people don't work with that vibration as much. Because also, kind of in the same way, 777 is about taking action, but you're supposed to take action and flow. But when you have these three sevens together, it makes you take action fast. So this is where you're deciding to gamble without thinking about it. So it's pushing you to action. So there you go. Side tidbits. Interesting. So, the 111s is all about this new energy, but we have to remember that all of these vibrations are very neutral. So we need to understand that this new, it can be what we would define as good or bad. It's or different. So we need to work with all of these vibrations from a neutral place. So if you see one of these numbers and it like makes your chest hurt, you don't like it. So like I talk to people all the time where they're like, "Ugh, I don't like 5. 5 feels gross. I don't like 5." Well, there's probably something in your experience, in your perspective, that makes change very hard. So you have to first understand from what perspective are you receiving this vibration and figure out how to get to a neutral position so you can accept the message as it is. We have a problem with this also with our blessings, where we get too stuck on what our blessings are supposed to look like. So like if we're praying for or we're trying to manifest something too specific, we can miss when it comes in because it doesn't look the way that we expected it to. Don't miss your miracles. You have to look at these messages and these vibrations from a very neutral place. And that's why healing is so important. Because once you go through the healing process, now it's taking you closer to that neutral space. So then you're able to get these messages much better. All right, I didn't intend to say all that, but okay. We'll just go with that then. But then we have threes. So Nikki and New Beginnings, you both said you were seeing threes. Threes are all about growth. But again, remember that growth can happen in any direction. And so this is like a lot about it's time to grow, you're needing to grow, or stop growing in that direction. It's the wrong way, girl. Turn around. So the threes can really bring in a lot of that energy. And then the fours are really about stability and foundation. But because this is neutral, this is also going to be building foundation, but also breaking it down and examining foundations. So what are your base thoughts? What are your base beliefs? Your foundational thoughts, your foundational beliefs, your foundational ways of doing things that need to be examined so that they could either be built up to help you get to the life that you want to live, or broken down because it's not a good foundation to stand on. And then this 555 is about change. So with all of these, you have to be careful not to get swept up in the momentum. Because angel numbers feel so powerful because it's an amplified vibration, but they also move like rapids. So you can't move too quickly with these because you'll get stuck at just this base message and you probably are going to miss the whole other message that is coming through. So what you want to do is really see, like, okay, when you see these 4 ones together, what are you feeling? What are you seeing? What are you experiencing? Who are you around? What were you thinking about? This also is going to help bring what's happening in your subconscious, so outside of your awareness, into your conscious mind, because you have to do that also to actually do healing. So these angel numbers coming up as messages also help you to learn that. Yeah. Yeah. That was really cool to see, Judy. So let's add these up now. Okay, sorry. I was listening again. Uh, like, man, like it's these energies, these vibrations are coming in like super strong, like extremely strong today. Um, so I'm sorry if I keep looking like I'm glitching, but they're coming in so strong and loud. I have to stop to be able to really get them. Um, okay, cool. So, um, yes, yes, Annie. So what you do, especially if you're seeing them in a pattern, so like if it's always these same ones, you want to add them up. But what I was hearing is that we need to add these up in different ways, because the bigger message is in it keeps saying two by two, but two by two, but always with the one. So basically, what I'm taking that as is that we need to take like 111 plus 333. So the new energy that's coming in uh, to help with the growth is around 1444. And so that's then relating here. So this is giving you some order. It's actually putting it in order. So like what I'm seeing as I'm doing this is these numbers are like coming together. It's building. It's your shapes again, Judy. It's building, like it's putting them together in a certain pattern in a certain way. Um, Interesting. Okay, sorry. These like, woo. I'm like actually dizzy, because the energy is so strong. It's probably that 999 portal today. So basically, this first thing is if you want to, this first message is around growth. So if you want to grow, whatever you want to grow in your life, and because this is three of them, this can be in any and all areas of life. In all areas of life that you want to grow, um, you have to accept in this new energy. And the first thing that you need to do is you need to examine the foundations of things, because you don't want to grow on faulty ground. You don't want to build your house. No, it's not too many numbers. It's actually this because we're in that 999 portal, getting hit with a whole lot. So what happens is when I'm pulling energy for an individual, usually I can easily separate it from like the energy that's for the collective or the message, because all of our messages are actually for the collective also as a whole. That's why they're coming in the space. So it's like the message is coming to you, so it also gets pulled in for all of us that are here, all of our family and our communities, and then it just radiates out. That's like the raindrop effect that these messages have. That's why it's so important for us to work on them together. But whew, because of this 999 portal, and especially because it's our last one, I'm seeing and experiencing all of these messages jumbled together. So I'm having to do a little more work to separate them out. So it's not you at all. Yeah, it's a lot. But so if you want to grow in any areas of your life where you want to grow, you have to examine the foundations of things, because if you're trying to grow, you one need to make sure you're growing in the right direction. And that's going to be from the foundational beliefs, that you are making decisions off of and you're growing from. But also, it's making sure that you're growing on solid ground. Like what I keep seeing is like the difference between building on a stone versus building on sand. So you want to make sure that you're not building on sand. You're not building on beliefs, behaviors, um, any of those foundational things that you've been standing on. It feels like there's several things, like whether it's how you do things or what you believe, that you no longer need. Like you were using them to survive, to make it through, but you've made it to this point where now it's become sand. It's kind of like if we have a rock and we keep banging it, eventually it becomes sand. So you've had this solid foundation of these beliefs and behaviors that has really helped you to be able to get to and grow into where you are now. But you've made it into sand. You've used it so much that now it is sand, and so you can't build your next part of your growth as an individual or the growth for your life onto that sand. You need a new foundation. And so you have to examine which of your foundations are now sand. Which of your foundations need to be swept away so that you can have a stronger foundation. And that's what you're needing to be able to grow. So the growth that you want to make, especially because it's multiple places in your life, you have to examine the foundations of things first. Because by examining those foundations, and this 444 adds up to 12, which is a change in perspective. And when we've talked about this change in perspective before, it really is about, like, are you building the tower up or are you breaking it down? Because either one is going to give you a new perspective. And so you're needing to make this change in perspective so that you can actually get to this big, huge transformation. Because now, by adding 1 here, we get to 13, which is the biggest kind of transformation you can make. It's the biggest change you can make. And it goes to a 4. Move this over. So it's creating new foundations. So these foundations need to be examined. Those that are now sand need to be swept away, so that you can actually be able to grow on solid ground and make this transformation and have a new foundation, a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things, a new way of being. Okay, good. Because then the next one is to add, and hopefully you're seeing the pattern here, because the next one is to add, and so you know this is not always what you do with angel numbers. You can add them all up together and get some more information, but just right now, I'm being told to make sure that we do it in this pattern, that this is how this pattern is what's bringing out the bigger message. So then if we do the 4 1s plus the 444, now we get this 1555. So you can see the pattern. This is coming back to what we were talking about earlier with the spiral. I'll show you that in a minute. But that's the bigger message that I was told I needed to talk about today. was this spiral. So I'm not surprised that this is coming up again. But this is saying, so in order to, oh my gosh, I'm running out of colors already. So in order to change and get these new foundations in your life up here, so like we were trying to do it here, you have to also look at the changes that are being made. You need to examine the changes that are being made and make sure that those changes are happening in the right direction and in the right way. It feels like oh man, this is like coming through like hella strong. I don't want to start doing extra weird shit cuz that happens sometimes too, where I just start speaking in numbers. I'm trying not to do it. I don't think I'm ready for y'all to witness that. I want you to still love me. um I know eventually you'll have to see it. But so what this is showing is that these 555, this adds up to 15. And 15 is understanding how you're making change, if it's putting you in bondage or if it's freeing you. So it's making this choice between bondage and freedom, because every change, every choice is either putting you in a place of bondage or a place of freedom. But remembering that this is still vibrational. So it's not like one is better than the other. Sometimes being in bondage is a good thing, and other times it's not. Same with freedom. And so you have to examine with each of these changes that you want to make in your life, is it putting you in a place of bondage or is it putting you in a place of freedom? And I don't know exactly why, but what keeps coming up is that bondage is the addiction. So the change is in recognizing that you don't want to be in a place of addiction, because that's a negative bondage that you could potentially slip into. So you want to be very careful about and like that we can be addicted to anything. Like I still am a workaholic. I try not to be, but it's hard. So it's making sure that as you're making these changes, because you have a lot of change happening in many areas of your life, if not all areas of your life, that you want to make sure that you really are aware and intentional about, is this change going to put me into bondage or is it going to put me into freedom? And that's very much what's needed to be able to examine and break down any of these foundations that are now sand, and have a solid foundation in order to grow. So you see how it's like they're working together. Um, I'm glad you like the numbers talk. I'd be feeling crazy. You mean if I came up to you and I just started talking numbers, you'd be fine with that? Man, that seems weird to me. And I'm the one doing it. Okay, let's get to this last one, because then we will see what the actual pattern is happening here. And this explains where that 666 is coming from. So if you have the 4 1s plus 5 5 5, now we're getting this 6 6 6. And so here, in order to make these changes that you need to make, so hopefully you're seeing the pattern here. So you need to make changes. You want to make these changes so that you can accept this new energy coming into your life. So you can accept these new things that are coming into your life, because your life is shifting and changing. But in order to do that, you have to examine your comfort zones. Let me move this up. So you have to examine your comfort zones. So similar to like examining the foundations of things, you have to examine in your areas of life what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, and why. Because that's going to help give you the information that you need to actually make true change. Because there's lots of things that all of us are comfortable with just because we're used to it, not because it's actually good for us. And so those are the comfort zones that need to be torn down. That's where this 6 6 6 is coming in. But that's also why you didn't list it. Because if you had listed it, then we wouldn't have gotten this pattern of the message that you actually need. Let me know if I'm like freezing or glitching for you all. That happens sometimes, even like during work meetings and stuff, when I'm pulling in too much energy. So just let me know. Yeah, because it's a lot. Um, okay, good. Okay, good. So basically, what this is showing is that you have a message of like you have a ton of new energy coming into your space. That's that 1 1 1. But there's very specific ways that you need to be using this energy so that you can um, actually get to the outcome that you really want. Um, and that is really meant for you. Whew. Okay. So, what it gave us the beginning and the end together. So that's why we had to do it in this pattern. So you're getting in all of this new energy. So let me see if I could draw this and show you what I'm actually like seeing. So you have this new energy coming into your space. So into all areas of your life. This is why it's 4 of them, because it's this square shape and it's sending new energy in. Whew, okay. Now I can't hear. I'm okay. Let me slow down a minute. I started going too fast and then I couldn't hear. Mm. Okay. And this is okay. I'm needing to say that's why it's coming in so strong and so big. That thank you, New Beginnings, for bringing this to us, because this is actually a big, huge vibration that is for many people that are in here and that will see this recording, and it's for all of us as a whole. So I needed to say that so that everybody can be listening and making sure that they're looking at how this is applying to their life. Um, so this new energy is coming in, and we definitely have this happening for all of us right now. We are right now in the end of the this 9 energy, where uh we're in the last 999 portal. All of this 9 energy at the end of this cycle. So we've gone through this whole cycle where we've been building up this energy, and now we're at 9. All of this is getting shifted into 1. So the shift that we're feeling is all of this 9 energy. All of this 9 energy that is coming to this 1. Don't be sorry, new beginnings, because this is how it's supposed to happen. Because if this was given to me directly, which it already has been, I didn't put it out there. This is how it's getting out to all of you. So this is exactly how it's supposed to go. So all of this 9 energy has been built up. It's now shifting into something new. So we have a flooding in of this new energy. But there's a very specific way that we need to use this new energy in order to get to the shift that is meant to happen in our lives and for us as a whole. The first step that we need to take is we need to examine the comfort zones. So it's that 6. So we need to examine the comfort zones. We need to examine what we're comfortable with, what we're not comfortable with, what others around us are comfortable with. What is society comfortable with that we're not comfortable with? What are people around us comfortable with that we're not comfortable with? What are we comfortable with that others around us are not comfortable with? What are we comfortable with that others in society are not comfortable with? Like, it's examining, that was a crazy lot to say, but it's examining those comfort zones at all of those different levels. And this goes for hip hop as well. That it is examining, like, to get through this shift, it's first examining those comfort zones. Examining the comfort zones that, oh gosh, okay, that are being used to be able to understand what comfort zones we need to break up and end. I need to go back here real quick and just show that the 666 we already saw, it's 18, but this added up together with a 1 is 19. October is resonating at a 19 energy. So this is right now. This message is extremely important for right now. So this is like So this is like the story of Jonah and the whale, because I was given this message like on Monday and I didn't know how to bring it out. And so I was swallowed up in a crazy, terrible week and didn't even know if I was going to be able to go live. And now I'm here live and it's this same message. So it will come out however it needs to come out. I'm coming out of the whale now. So first, these comfort zones need to be examined. Once these comfort zones are examined, this is the beginning of the spiral. So at the center of the spiral is where all of this energy is coming in. to be able to fully get um, full use of all of this energy, it needs to go this way. So we need to put all the energy into examining these comfort zones and changing the comfort zones at individual levels, at like group levels, and at a full collective level. So once we're able to do that, now this energy can shift into this five energy of making change. If we do not make the changes in the comfort zone, so if we don't get rid of comfort zones that shouldn't be there and build up the ones that we need, this change is not going to happen in the right direction. Because remember, we can change in any direction. But to make sure that its change is happening in the right direction, then we need to make sure that we are first examining the comfort zones. We're building up the comfort zones that are good and that we need and that are supporting our most authentic selves. And we're breaking down those that are not good for us or that no longer serve us. Or that alienate us, like separate us from the group. There's a lot happening right now where we are very much supposed to be making a lot of these vibrational changes together as a group. That doesn't mean you have to get along with everybody. It doesn't mean you have to straddle the fence. It means you find your community. You find your group. And you're supposed to be working together on these vibrations. Starting with comfort, then that gets to the change. Once these changes are able to be made, because we're making the right changes, that keeps us on this vibrational flow. If we come off of this black line, it means we're outside of vibrational flow. And we're going to encounter chaos because we have so much energy that's in this space. But once we make those correct changes in the right direction, and that direction can be different for different people, but it should be a group of people that are also moving in that direction with you. Then we can examine our foundations. So by understanding the comfort zones that are really they're like fueling, they're putting the energy into the right place. So it's like keeping these comfort zones that don't work for us or that aren't good is like putting the wrong type of gas in your car. That's what this is telling us. That we need to make sure that we're putting this fuel in the right place and we're putting the right fuel in so that we can actually change. So like putting the right gas in makes you be able to change location. So that's why it's going in this order. Once we make those changes, now we're able to examine from a different perspective what the foundations are. So what are, and we've already started looking at these from the comfort zones, but looking at what are your foundational ideas, beliefs, routines, behaviors that are actually adding to the life that you want or taking away from the life that you want. But it keeps coming up that it's really around it's around people. So these foundations have to be like you can't build your foundation so high that you put yourself in a tower where nobody can be around you. That this is not the time for that. This is not the time for that. You need to have your group, you need to have your community. And that group and community needs to have shared comfort zones, and these shared foundations. So we examine the comfort zones that allows us to channel this energy into change, where we're making changes that are moving us in the correct direction. Then that allows us to really examine the foundations of things. Like, are we building on sand, or are we building on solid ground? Now, if we skip these steps before, we skip the comfort zones and making changes, we don't know if we're building on sand. We could build foundations on sand and not even know it. So that's why it's important to go in this order. Ooh, this message is big. But then once we do that, then we're able to actually get to this growth. So now we're able to grow. Now you can build. Now you can expand. But if you try and grow and expand on sand, it'll fall apart. And that's some of what we've already been witnessing in our own individual lives, in groups, in the community, and in the whole. So it's important to be able to go in this order. When we go in this order, so then when we are able to begin to grow, and this is like fully utilizing the energy, this new energy that's coming into this space. So this is like the most efficient way. This is like getting really good gas mileage on your car. This is the most efficient engine, because this new energy, this fuel is coming in whether we like it or not. But we're being told how to be able to use it in the most efficient way. How we can use it to actually grow into this brand new life, to be able to shift into this brand new life. So then if we add these numbers together, let me move this up a little bit. So 333, 444, and 555. Now this gets us to 2,443. So going in this order, this is where we actually get to transformation and a new foundation for things. This is where the full shift occurs. And in this place of full shift, we have growth. So the growth that we make, so this last 3 is going in here. It's bringing us this 44, where 44 is stable, but it also is the numerical vibration of hope and faith. So the growth is bringing us to a stable place of hope. So then we can actually end dualism. And we're never going to be able to end all dualism. But if we end little bits of dualism in our own lives, in the groups that we're in our communities, we're getting closer to ending that dualism. But that's what's bringing the transformation of this shift. Good God. I guess I could say any questions. I don't know if I'll be able to answer them because that, man, that was a lot of energy and it's still flowing in. Whew. Very powerful. Extremely powerful. And extremely important. Okay. Take a picture of this. Let me know if there's any others that you want a screenshot of, and I'll go there. Um, but there's one other thing I got to show you in relation to this. No, we're going to get to your husband. There's just one more thing that I need to do for this. And then we can look at your husband's energy because you don't get to make it all the time. So I do want to get to that. And then we'll end. And I'll go take a fatty nap. Ooh, after this, it's going to be a fatty nap day. But I knew this was going to be a long one. I guess that's why I just wasn't moved to have a live yesterday. Because just that message alone, woo wee. Okay, so let me know if you need me to go back anywhere. Um, but the last thing that I want to show, because you'll probably see and hear me speaking of this later this week and especially into October, is that we have to remember that with this energy, with these vibrations moving in a spiral, and we looked at this already, but we should expect to see and expect to be working with this energy um, at several different levels. So we should be expecting to work with this energy and seeing it at an individual level. So in our individual lives, and all of this is around this shift that is happening. This shift is happening in multiple spaces because it's much bigger than like just hip hop or just our individual lives. So we should expect to see this energy, work with this energy at an individual level, um, at like our family, chosen family level, um, at a community level. I'm gonna have to make this bigger. Let me make this spiral a little bigger. It's gonna be all wonky, but that's okay. Um, but also with all of these things, these weather things that are happening, um, that's this shift and this vibration coming into the space at the earth level. So we should expect to see that and be prepared for it. So, um, anyone that is in any of these spaces where they are talking about potential bad weather, or if you just feel it in your being, listen to your intuition and make sure that you're prepared, whatever that looks like. If that means like having water on hand, if that means going to a different space, I don't know. But understand that these vibrations are coming in all of these spaces. So if you are in a physical space on earth where you could be experiencing these earth shifts in the form of weather, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. Just be prepared. If you've lived there for a long time, you probably are. It's nothing to panic about. It's just to be aware and make sure you're prepared. But also, the preparation and the awareness needs to happen at all of these levels. So when stuff comes in, we're not in chaos scrambling around, but we're actually able to use this energy. That's why this message is coming in right now. We also will see this vibration at the astrological level. So there's a lot happening in the astrology right now. We have 3i Atlas, which I've talked about before, that's changing some of our astrology. But we also have a bunch of comets that are starting to come into our space. Expect to hear about and see a lot of things coming in astrologically as well. Know that all of these things are connected. So if you are experiencing things like weather for the earth, see how you can connect it to what's happening in your community, what's happening in your family space, what's happening in your individual space. And I bet you it's happening astrologically as well. I'll make sure to bring to you what's happening astrologically and just vibrationally as a whole. But it's this shift is huge. For hip hop in particular, this is the same thing. This shift that is happening in hip hop, it's going to be happening at all of these levels. But hip hop as a whole is right here at this community level. So expect that in that hip hop space or any of those cultural spaces, we should be seeing some of these shiftings and these movings of energy at that community level. That's probably why the message keeps coming through, to make sure that you are working with people, that you need to work with people. We need to be working together on these vibrations. Yes, we have individual healing and we have individual work to do. That doesn't change, but the group dynamic, working in a community and as a group, is very important right now. We can't let the polarization and the divides have us not be around a group. It doesn't have to be the whole group, but you need to be working on it as a group. Okay, can we stop now? Can we stop now? Is that enough? You want to put everybody to sleep? Woo-wee! Okay, Annie, put your husband's information in the chat so that nothing else can come in. I'm sure more of this message is going to come in because I have to record this weekend. I have to record our October vibrations videos. So I'm sure more of this is going to come in then. But okay, for today, it is done. Okay, so let's look. Let me see if I can look through this gobbledygook of all of these numbers that came in and get this. Come on now. Come on now, Judy. That's gonna work that way. That's how it's gonna work today. All right, so Annie, we know that your life path number is 55. I think I wrote it right. Yeah, I did. Right behind our wheel. Let me move it. Did I move it? It's so crazy because I can't see the wheel on my screen. Ugh, Nope, not down enough. I just need to put your 55 here so I remember that your life path is 55. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's do this. So, November 5th. So, we're going to do the year first. And so then this is 21. And then if we add the month and the day, we get 37. I'm glad it's not 27 because then this whole thing would start all over again. Though that would have been okay too. Um so 37. So for your husband, he's quick to action because this 7 really is pushing for action, but it needs to be in flow. So his natural inclination, because this first step is about taking action, is to just move, to take action. Um, and you already said that you're quick to change. So the two of you together have to make sure you figure out how to slow down and help each other slow down, because he's very good at taking action, but needs to make sure that it's in flow, that it's in a vibrational flow. It's at the right time and it's divine timing. Like the steps need to come before this to be able to have that action and flow. So then by taking the action in flow, then he can get to a place of growth. So if this is something, what keeps coming up is like a business or something. So like if he is an entrepreneur or he wants to go into an entrepreneur space, like he wants to have his own business, he has to make sure that every action he's taking is in flow or it's not going to grow right. It's going to grow in the wrong direction. It's going to be like, pew, grow downward instead of upward. I liked that sound that came out of my mouth. So it's making sure that that first step is not skipped. The first step has to be action, but action in flow. It has to be at the right time in the right way. Um, and so it's really important for him to understand that vibration, like what direction he's trying to grow in, which way he's trying to get going. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, so he needs to like focus in on one, maybe two of these ideas and really work with them to get them in flow. Because if he's taking action on too many things at the same time, that's outside of vibrational flow and it won't grow. So he needs to make sure that he's growing. Um, because his life path number also adds up to 10. That's your connection point, is the 10. He's also a 1 energy. Yeah, so he's got to learn how. That's why the 7 is that first step, is learning how to slow down so that you could take action and flow. Focus in. But you're connected at this 10. So you both are very connected to this divine God energy, helping you to push into new spaces and to bring new energy into the world. But you're doing it in very different ways. So while you need to really learn how to make the right changes in the right time, he needs to learn how to take the right action at the right time. And that's where you can help each other, is slow each other down, remind each other how to be able to take action or make change in the right timing. Because when you both are at that 10, then you have very in synced energy. So when you have those moments where you are moving as a unit, like you're moving together as a couple in a unit, that's when you're both in that 10. If you're not moving that way, then you both are probably at these other steps individually, or one of you is. You have to work together to get both of you at that 10, using that God energy to be able to bring new energy into the world. You both, because you're both ones, you both probably have a lot of new ideas, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's part of your purpose, is to draw this new energy into the space, into the collective consciousness for others to be able to use. But you have to make sure that you're going through these steps and recognize that even though you both have a life path number of 1 and it's coming from that 10, to get to that 10 is different for you both. So you have to understand and accept that you're going to have different paths to get to the 10, because you're not actually working together until you're both at 10. So it has to be okay that you have these two separate paths to get to the same place together. If you don't allow those two paths to be able to exist, then they can't converge. So there's be times where you're sitting at that 10 and he's not ready yet. And there'll be times when he's sitting at that 10 and you're not ready yet. And so you need to make sure that you are giving yourselves the time and space to have those separate paths. And so then how you are working together, so if we do the 37 plus the 55, we get 92, which here again is that 11-2. Yeah, but you have to recognize that you have to allow him to get there. And that his path, his way of getting there is going to be different than yours. You're very welcome, New Beginnings. You see the synchronicities? There's always synchronicities. All the right people at the right time always are coming together. So when you're together, when you're both in that 10, that's when you're fully resonating at this 92. That's when you can work on the ending of dualism. So you are definitely here because you already got that 72 message. So you're supposed to be working on this ending of dualism. Now with our life path numbers, it's never really done. It's never really done. But we come to points where we are shifting through these steps. And it's usually like in different areas of our life. Where different areas of our life, we might be at the first step, but we're at the end in a different area of life. Because that's how we learn and grow. But when the two of you are at that 10 together, that's where you can end this dualism And by uh, ending that dualism, now you are bringing it to a full end. That's why you have this 11 to the 2. So you two are supposed to be working together to be able to end dualism in your relationship while you're on these separate paths to get to the new energy, but then together you're pulling in the new energy to fully and completely end dualism in your space. Whenever we are fulfilling a greater purpose, um, our purpose for our life path number, our names, or in relationship with anybody, regardless of what the relationship is, when we are actually adding those vibrations to the collective consciousness, everybody is learning it. It's like in the Matrix where you get plugged in and then you just know, kung fu. So, yes, please work on this. Please work on ending dualism because it's going to help us all. Adding those vibrations helps us all. Did you have any questions, Annie? I can feel my eyeballs. My eyes are already closing. My eyes are getting all dry. That was a lot of energy. Mm, yeah. Yeah, I think Annie, both of you um can be impatient, but in different ways. You're impatient in around wanting to make the change, like wanting to get to the end without taking the steps. And he's impatient around wanting to take action before it's the right time to. Yeah. Interesting. 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 Okay. You're very welcome. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad that resonates. Alrighty, my friends. So, what I'm going to do is let's talk about. Come on. Let's talk about the vibration that our random wheel selected for this last week. Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad it resonated and it was helpful. And I'm glad you made it today. You got some good information today. Well, we all did because we all needed it. So, last Saturday, our random wheel gave us the 437. Um, and so, did anybody see any of these vibrations last week? So, this action and flow, which we've been talking about, we just got a whole bunch on growth. And then we actually had a long conversation about these foundations and stability also. But these are the vibrations we had for last week. Oh, absolutely, Judy. Everything does happen for a reason. And then this adds up to 14. So this stability is like the big huge theme. But also around the foundations. And it seemed like it was a lot of stuff coming up about like the foundational beliefs or foundational behaviors. So, what are we building off of in order to bring forth this change? We've been talking about shifts and changes, so that makes sense. Anybody see anything around this? Because again, we're just doing these random numbers, these random vibrations to just help us all to become more aware of the vibrations that are around us, whether we see the numbers or we see the themes. This is just the same as like documenting what you're feeling and seeing and thinking when you see any of your angel numbers or really any number that you're getting on repeat. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 555 has been a big one. One of the reasons, actually, is because we're still in retrograde season. And this word retrograde actually equals 111. And right now we have five of them. So that's happening. Also, when we are in retrograde season, we're having to review. It's like review, remember, reevaluate, repeat, uh, reenact, react. So all of those words that start with RE um, are coming up very often during retrograde season. But we also have seen um, where this 111 is also the numeric vibration of the word humanity. And I've heard people using that word a lot more often since we've been in retrograde season. Also, illusion is 111. I think that's all. There's more. There's absolutely more, but I think that's all that I'm supposed to include. So yeah. So that's definitely. Yeah, the 555 is definitely something. Good, Judy. That's great. Okay, so are you ready to spin the wheel? Yeah. I've caught myself using illusion a lot too. And then I catch myself and I'm like, "Oh, retrograde." Okay, so let's spin the wheel and see what our number, our vibration is for this coming week. So let me go over to this other screen if I can see properly. Luckily, I can hear again. Okay, here we go. Spin that wheel. I love this wheel. It's great. Ooh, 129. Interesting that we've got that 9 in there. Okay, so let me get back over to this screen so I can write it down before I forget. Just kidding, I won't forget. 129. So we have some interesting things that are happening here. Um, we have this 9. So in this coming week, we're coming to the end of September. So we definitely have all of this 9 energy that is shifting. So this 9 is about the shifting. So we should be seeing themes and feeling themes around this shifting, where we have all of this 9 energy shifting into October. It's shifting into something new. And this shift needs to happen for this 12, which is a change in perspective. And this change in perspective is coming from ending dualism, so that new energy can come in. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Judy. That's amazing. I'm so happy that this is like resonating and has been helpful. That's really what I'm here for. That's so thank you for sharing that, and you're welcome, and I'm just in gratitude. This is wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. Yes, Annie. Shift all over the place. It's that nine. It's the nine, and but this is the nine energy of the year, actually, not the month. So we will continue throughout 2025 and actually going into 2026 to be discussing this shift. But we're at the end of it, like this shifting. It's like the gathering up of all of this energy that needs to shift. So that's why we're feeling it so much. Oh, thank you, Annie. I'm so glad. Oh, okay, that makes like, well, this is worth it because I like talking about numbers, but it makes it even more worth it when it's actually helpful. Um, so this shifting energy is really meant to change the perspective so that it can change the perspective of the whole collective. So it's like, like when one person changes their response to something, or one person brings in information to a group, and a little bit over time, it changes and shifts things. I think that's what we are seeing in that's like part of this big shift for hip hop. Um, but that's what this 129 really is about. It's like this shifting that's happening, and it's changing the perspective, but it's changing the perspective of like few, like one person or a few people, and then it's able to shift the perspective of the group. So then as a group, we are able to grow and to grow into this new space that we're shifting into. So this is actually a very interesting number. We'll have to see and pay attention if we actually see this week and have this happen. That's wonderful, Judy. You're very welcome. That's great. That's amazing. Okay, so look out for 129 and any of these themes this week. I'm about to go take a fatty nap. If you take a fatty nap also, or going to bed because it's so late, Annie, I can't believe you stayed for the whole thing. I just remembered how late it is there. My goodness. Well, as any of us and all of us go to sleep, I will meet you in the astral plane. And we can continue our discussions. But we'll definitely continue our discussions this week. Um, this week, I will get out. I don't know when this week, but this week I will get out the videos on October vibrations. And then either at the end of the week or sometime during the week, we'll do a live on the October vibrations. It might be Friday or before. I don't know. We'll just see. Thank you all for being here. Please make sure that as you're leaving, you hit the like button and put any of your comments in. And you can put additional questions in the comments also. I usually try and make sure I respond to all of those. And I'll see you next week or throughout the week. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, everybody. Bye.